coming up, part 1 of Thank You Goodnight Bon Jovi story on Hulu. Next on Heels and Quads.
Heels and Quads Media, the place where metal lives. With Tommy and Levi, we're taking full control. Screaming vocals, thunderous bass, and crushing beats. Heels and Quads Media, where the metal scene meets.
Welcome back, Heels and Quads Media here on YouTube. I'm Tommy, and it is 3 o'clock in the morning. Why am I recording a video at 3 o'clock in the morning? I'll tell you why. At 11 p.m. Central Time, Thank You Goodnight, the Bon Jovi story was released on Hulu. Well, silly me thought I could take a nap at 9:15 p.m. and be up in time to start watching it at time of release, record a video, get it out, do all 4 parts, get it all done in a 12-hour period. That doesn't seem to be the case. So I've now watched part 1, and I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm going to go watch part 2, come back, record another video, part 3, so on and so forth. So the biggest takeaway from part 1 is it's a lot like the Bon Jovi Behind the Music that came out in 2000, because it came out around the time of Crush. For a diehard Bon Jovi fan such as myself, you don't learn a ton. You see bits and pieces of things that you might have heard about through interviews, or you see pictures that you might have seen before, especially now with the internet. Obviously, you can find just about anything you want to find on any band. But there was enough, even for a diehard fan, to keep you engaged. I thought the opening with John in the warehouse putting on the Giant Stadium tape from the first time they played Giant Stadium in '89 on the New Jersey tour, that was one of the biggest takeaways, knowing that there's a pro shot video of that. Like, when will we see that? I would love to have that on a Blu-ray, especially like with 2024 being the 40th anniversary of the band. I mean, obviously they could wait until the 40th anniversary of New Jersey in 5 years or 4 years, some kind of bundle package, but I'd like to have it now. That's one show that I've always kind of wanted to see, being, that New Jersey band a la Bruce Springsteen, who's also featured in the documentary and pretty heavily in part 1. I'm excited to see where part 2 takes us, because part 1 is really just kind of a summary of those, Atlantic City Expressway, Bon Jovi and the Wild Ones, and then up to Runaway, and then it shows the band on American Bandstand with Dick Clark, and kind of like glosses over the Power Station years. And John talks about how he saw Bowie and Queen do Under Pressure, and he saw the Stones in the studio, and watched Steven Tyler sing in the studio with just him. He talks about Kiss a little bit, and seeing Diana Ross at the studio, and just kind of like doing the gopher thing where he'd go get sandwiches or go to the OTB, all that kind of stuff. That's all kind of stuff that we as Bon Jovi fans knew about. But then there was also like the tie-ins of the 2022 tour, when like the last, I don't want to say 10 years, but I'd say at least the last like 7 to 8 years, we all kind of knew that John's voice wasn't as good as it once was. Well, I can say even 10, because even like the Circle tour, like it was a lot of Richie, like, and they even talk about it in the documentary, how it's not so much when John sings by himself, it's when John and Richie sing together, it's magic. The harmonization of those two voices together kind of made that Bon Jovi sound. The 2022 tour, which I didn't know this was kind of a fun little nugget of information. They rehearsed for that tour at the old Izod Arena, Continental Airlines, Brendan Byrne Arena, whatever you want to call it, at the Meadowlands. And John even says, like, I can't believe we aren't playing this place anymore. Like, we could sell this out. I could do a week here and sell it out. Which, that was always a great arena. Bon Jovi did great shows there. Bruce had a great run of shows there. I saw wrestling there. A fun arena, great sounding arena. And it is, like, once they built the Rock, the Prudential Center in Newark, they kind of just gave up on that arena, unfortunately. And it's still just is sitting there. So it's kind of cool that they did their rehearsal for that tour in that building. The anticipation, I guess you could say, because it's been over 10 years now since Richie left the band. I feel like as a huge fan of the band and wanting to know what exactly happened, the anticipation of Richie coming on screen for an interview segment was what made this whole first part for me. And they built it up beautifully. Like, this is very well done. And I'm really excited for part 2. So I'm trying to summarize part 1 as much. I want to keep these under 10 minutes because I want you, the viewer, to go watch this. That's the whole point. This is like me promoting it and giving my opinion, but like, want people to go watch this. And I feel like when you get an actual fan's perspective, it's more about wanting to go watch something than necessarily really like me breaking it down. I could have taken notes, I could have broke it down part by part, but I'd rather give a small summary and want you to go watch it. So anyways, they really did this very well. It's broken down. They start with John in the warehouse, like I said. Then it's like a little bit of 2022. Then it goes, the early years, cover bands playing the Jersey Shore, playing, the Stone Pony, Fast Lane, all that stuff. Getting to play Promised Land with Bruce, which they just did again, which was really cool. Southside Johnny's also featured in the documentary, talking about the band. And when you're like, okay, come on, we all know it's coming. Where's Richie? And then it gets to, you're so consumed with the 59 minutes of just kind of like, not necessarily canned answers, but you know what I mean? Like when a famous artist or famous actor or anything, when they do interviews over and over, if you watch enough of them, you get those same canned answers, responses to questions they get asked on every PR tour. It's like, I've done enough interviews already to know, like, if you ask a certain, like, as we call them, softball questions, you're gonna get the same answer that they've given everybody else. And, like, especially promoting this documentary, I've watched enough interviews with John where it's like, he says, like, little quips and little lines that he says in the documentary. And it's building, and I'm building it. The anticipation, they finally get it. They're talking about Runaway, how John recorded the song at the power station, brings it to the DJ, and he said that. He's been saying that line for years. Who's the loneliest guy in the record business? The DJ. And so, you got a hit song? I know. He says it just like that. And then the American Bandstand part, and then you see a guitar, and it's playing Wanted, and they do the little time stamp with the grate, and it says Richie Sambora, and he says, are we gonna lie or tell the truth? And then little clip of the Runaway video, credits. So they did it very well, and I'm looking forward to part 2. By the time you see this, all 4 of the parts of my little review promotion will be out, but hopefully you'll check it out. Thank you, good night. The Bon Jovi Story on Hulu in the US, and then, of course, Disney Plus internationally. So I'll see you for part 2. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, and I'll see you next time.